Welcome to this Killick Explains video. And this time I want to do something slightly different, which I haven't done before, and that is talk about the publication tucked away at the back here called Confidant. Now you can probably only see the top inch or so, but I'm going to explain what it's all about, what's in it, and then give you an email address to ping if you'd actually like to read all about it, as it were. So what is that thing sitting behind my two guides? These are the guides in front, and there are 6 of those. The magazine at the back is different. Well, it's a 24-page beast, and I'll go through some of those pages in a moment. It's produced quarterly. I edit it, so I pull all the various strands together. It's available in digital, a couple of forms, and hard copy. So at the end, you can make a decision about which one you might prefer. And the content is basically a mixture of thought leadership for investment purposes, investment analysis, specific ideas and tips, and guest interviews. So what I'll do is I'll run through the latest one, which is the Winter 2022 edition, just to give you a flavour of what's in it. And then, to be honest, future editions are structured a very similar way, albeit obviously the topics change every quarter. So if you want an insight into the world of investing, some interesting thought leadership and opinion, and some ideas, it's not a bad place to go looking. Now, what's in it? Well, the front cover, first of all, gives you some sort of clue. This time, ice skaters. The idea is synchronizing risk and return, and that gives you an idea of what the cover story might be all about, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And then you'll notice, if you're looking next to me, there are 4 boxes, and those give you some insights into what's following, and you've got a full contents page just slightly inside the front cover. Now what I'm going to do is just run very briefly through a kind of tour of the main pages. So once you get past the front cover, then you've got Paul Killick, senior partner, talking this time about the age of exponential, the idea that we may be in a new growth era. It might not feel like it early February 2022 as I make this video and markets are quite volatile, but looking longer term, he has an interesting point to make about the way that growth is changing. Well, obviously you can read the article, so I won't go on about it. There's also Mike Pate's cover story on risk and return, asking the question, what would you be comfortable with in terms of risk? Because that will, to a degree, set your expectations about the return you can expect on a portfolio. And he asks the question, how would you react if the stock market were to suddenly drop 20%? Now, in the past, when it's done that, it has recovered thereafter. But nonetheless, there are investors out there who get very nervous, incorrectly in my opinion, at the smallest downward drop in the stock market. So he discusses what that means for your portfolio and getting the mix right. Then you've got Rachel Winter, our market update presenter. You may have seen her on the other videos that come out with mine on a weekly basis. And she focuses quite heavily on the implications of COP26 and some of the climate change proposals in the context of what companies might have to do and the investing landscape. She also touches on some other key issues, including inflation, as you might imagine. And in this whirlwind tour, I'm just giving you the highlights, if you like. Obviously, each article, as it pops up next to me, you could decide to read in a bit more detail. Then Stephen Timoney this time, the big picture article, talking about his global mid-cap service and pulling out a few names and explaining why he likes them. Then you've got Andrew Duncan. So we've got the research section, if you like, equity research being a vitally important part of the offering. So Andrew Duncan talking about some of his favourite healthcare stocks and some of the long-term healthcare themes out there. Then Gordon Smith, one of our funds experts, if you like, talking about emerging markets and India in particular, given some of the bumps that people are experiencing around Chinese policy and Chinese principles and so on. Then we move to Matt Malik, our bond specialist, talking about how to look at bonds from a thematic perspective, which is a different way to look at bonds, not the way that everyone looks at them, but does give quite an interesting insight into how you might view a bond portfolio. Then, planning. Sarah Hollowell, an expert in all matters related to personal and financial planning, takes on the topic of trusts and how they can help what we call the sandwich generation. People, like myself, squeezed between aging parents on the one side and growing children on the other. How can you protect your wealth and pass it on tax effectively. So there's a nice article there. Then the special situations team, if you like, adding what could be described as a little bit of spice to portfolios for those people for whom that is suitable, or those people who want it. So talking about some of the slightly smaller cap plays that may contain what he calls hidden value this quarter. And then there's normally a guest interview in every issue of Confidant, and this time is no exception. Dame Esther Ranson, those people who remember the That's Life series, which ran for around 20 years when I was a lot younger, she talks about well-being, one or two of her biggest financial mistakes, and also financial successes, and of course, needless to say with Dame Esther, her favourite latest charitable cause. So there you have it, 24 pages, quite a lot of variety, thought leadership towards the front, research towards the middle, wealth planning and financial planning 2/3 of the way through, and then a nice guest interview towards the end. And if some of that sounds quite appealing and you'd like to see that in one of the digital forms we have it available, then do drop me an email, editor@killick.com, and I'd be delighted to send you a copy. And if you'd like to watch videos that take some of the issues those authors raise into sort of more depth and detail, then you can always sort of read about the how-to aspect of some of the investing topics they discuss by going to our extensive library, killick.com/learn.